Here at the plenary hall, we have more on how ICT is transforming sectors and the truth about e-government. Meanwhile, in track 2, we have ICT trends in energy. And on that panel, we have Dr. Isa Batarsa, president of PSUT, Princess Maya University of Technology. And we also have Anas Rimawi, who has just joined the panel as well. So be sure to check it out if energy is your thing. Where is Fadi Marai? I'm pleased to introduce our moderator for this session, Fadi Marai of Y Consult. Thank you. Talk about the truth about e-government.
Yep.
Should I be scared?
No, don't worry.
Yeah.
We just don't do another uprising or Arab Spring if governments don't go with us.
All right, good luck.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a little bit challenging to, again, bring heat into the discussion, especially after a lunch break, then a long day, and now this is the probably the final session for today. Is it?
There's one more plan.
There's one more. Oh, God.
So
thanks God I'm not the moderator on that.
We've got 45 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Governments are being looked at, especially after what happened in the past 2 years. Everybody's looking at governments to see what they are doing and how are they changing and transforming and how are they capturing the lessons learned from what happened in some of the countries, and how are they using technologies that were underestimated probably, that they could help and change the spectrum of how governments are working. Before 2009, Facebook, Twitter were more, those are tools for the young generation to get to know each other, do some dating stuff, etc. Later on, they became tools that could have changed rulers. So transformation is happening. E-government's initiatives started very early of 2000, at least in this region. Lots of successes, some dumps. We have a very rich, experienced, distinguished panelists and experts with us to share with us their experience. So please welcome with me Mr. Ali Al-Sama, the e-government director of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He's as well the consultant for the IT minister. Mr. Hassan Hourani, the e-government director of Jordan. Mrs. Sharon Dose from Center of Government, and Mr. Salim Abdullah, the CEO of Smart Cube. Okay, we will try to have a more interactive session by having, the way we're going to run this session is to have our distinguished experts have more of an open discussion between them. We would like later on to actually get more questions from our respectful audience. But before anything else, I'd like from each of our panelists, please, to give us 20 to 30 seconds of brief introduction of themselves and their expertise in this domain of e-government. So, Mr. Ali.
طيب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. First, thank you for inviting me to participate with you in this distinguished forum. My experience with e-government started being a faculty staff member in the Institute of Public Administration in Saudi Arabia, where I was doing some consulting for public sector and implementing ICT. Then being CIO for the Royal Commission of Jubail Yamba, the industrial city in Jubail Yamba. Then after that, I joined the e-government in Saudi Arabia 7 years ago. Worked as a director of the strategic planning of the e-government. Then after that, been appointed as the Director General of the Saudi e-government program.
My name is Hassan Hourani. I'm the Director of e-Government of Jordan. Prior to my current position, I had the honor and the pleasure of working with His Excellency Abu Saleh at Yasser, the e-Government program of Saudi Arabia, where I established the consulting group for providing e-transformation consulting services to the public sector. And prior to that, I was again the Director of e-Government of Jordan. And prior to that, I spent about 15 or 20 years in the private sector working in the area of software development and design.
Hello, I'm Sharon Dawes, and thank you for the invitation. This is my first trip to Jordan. I'm enjoying it very much. I'm Senior Fellow at the Center for Technology and Government at the State University of New York at Albany. I was the founder of the center about 20 years ago. I've also been the director of a nonprofit membership organization of IT and information professionals, and I began my career as a manager in state government. So except for the private sector, I've had experience in a lot of different aspects of information use in the public sector.
Okay. Hello, my name is Salim Abdullah. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for a beautiful forum. I'm CEO of SmartCube Information Technology, Global Information Technology, Bayanat. I've worked with the governments, especially the transforming of governments from manual to e-governments over the past few years. And we work in the Middle East primarily, so thank you.
Okay. So actually, Mr. Al-Sama, I think it's more than 8 years probably the e-government director of Saudi Arabia. Mr. Hassan Hourani has been involved for more than 12 years in e-government initiatives in the region. Mr. Salim as well. So e-government actually started this whole initiatives, part of which to pave the way for the others to jump along. We'll look at e-government initiatives to be more matured than the rest. So let's, if you may allow me to use the word maturity as our key word for this session. How can we grow in a more matured manner? What did we learn from what we've done? Where are we going? Who's playing the roles? So I would rather please to start from your side, sir, Ali, on that angle.
Okay, interesting. The maturity of e-government in the region, it sounds a little bit different from the other region, which is e-government maybe started a little bit earlier. Here in the region, the e-government concept started back in 2000. Some other country who started earlier, the concept is more really mature. Maybe the main characteristic of that is still e-government in the region here have more focus on technology rather than on business, legislation, governance. That make the e-government implementation here in the region a little bit not reach the high level of maturity, because the impact still haven't made its way to touch on big influence to the governance and the legislation and the process, and maybe re-engineering the whole government in total. So this is a bit can be taken as a negative side. However, on the other side, putting more services online and putting more variety of e-channels that could be an advantage here in the region because the technology hype and the region here considered to be a young population. In Saudi Arabia, for example, more than 60 of the Saudis population is below 25 years. So young generation, mobile penetration is more than 190%. So the access, the more e-service online may be happening more fancy technology is there in the region, but we consider the next coming 5 years to have more maturity in terms of the governance and the organization structure of government and legislation, more transparency. So I think e-government is a tool for a total transformation and a total maturity of government business with governments.
Thank you. Hassan, can you please take on that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think with maturity comes responsibility, and maturity of e-government in different parts of the Arab world varies drastically, and it's influenced by a great number of factors. Today I was rather surprised by the participation or the lack thereof of government officials in this very important forum. I only saw about 3 ex-ministers, and they are all ICT ministers. And I'm wondering where the other ministers are. What about secretary generals? People who should be at the helm of e-transformation. And that's to do with maturity, that's to do with responsibility, because I think there is a serious issue in the marriage between ICT and other sectors in the state.
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
I think this needs to be addressed. This disconnect between the different participants or stakeholders poses a very serious issue for all of us, not only in government but also in the private sector. And I look around the hall and I'm wondering how many private company CIOs are there. I know it's getting late, but today we are part of a very important forum that is paving the way for the way forward. And earlier on today, a gentleman from Oasis 500 was talking about focus. And I'm wondering, what is it that's distracting us as a society, as agencies, as government or private agencies? Something is distracting us from focusing. And I'm just wondering what it is.
Well, that could be another big topic to think what could it be. But yes, definitely to the angle that you've mentioned, it's the integration between ICT and the other sectors, the core functions of the other sectors, that where we will be able to see more of the positive impact of what ICT could do to the economy and as a whole, and to the social side as well of the whole thing. And that was the idea at the beginning, that e-government is a tool for socioeconomic development, not just a tool to lay fiber optic cable and hardware and just to enable services online. That actually brings up the word convenient, and the convenient service from the government to citizen, and more of an open channel of communication. Sharon, that's an area, governance and trust, and we lack all these stuff. How could e-government play a major role? What's happening? Are we shifting? Are we actually aligning governance and e-government?
Well, I think a mature e-government, and I don't think anyone actually has one yet, is really going to be the result of at least 5 considerations working together. And those are the policy domain, including policies about information and about technology, but also policies in terms of choosing what it is we want to accomplish in health, in education, or in any other domain of the public sector. A second one is paying attention to management and organizations and human resources, and what kinds of capabilities do we have, and what capabilities do we need all across the board, not only IT capabilities, but the entire workforce and the whole array of government organizations. Technology, for sure, is part of that formula, and it's changing rapidly. It's offering lots of new capabilities, but by itself, it's not the answer. And I think one of the reasons we're distracted is that there's so much hope that technology will solve problems that are not really technology problems. They're social problems, political problems, and so on. Another aspect is paying attention to data or information. That's the content is really the thing of value in our systems, and understanding data in value terms is something that we're only just beginning to do. And finally, paying attention to context. The ways in which we use e-government in North America are different than the ways they're used in this region, different than the ways they're used in Europe, because our contexts are different, our histories are different, we're starting in different places. And if we could pull that package together and make all of those parts work in some kind of harmony, then I think our chances of achieving a mature e-government would improve.
Thank you. Well, Samir, private sector.
Yeah.
Hassan just mentioned, where are the CIOs, where are the people who should be now looking at an opportunity, looking for ways how we can help governments at this point of time, how can we grow up together, mature up together. So where are we?
Well, first of all, I think there has been a lot of genuine efforts on behalf of all the governments in the region to really do something big. Now, how does that then translate to the end user, the citizen, is something that we have seen and we do see across the region, and it really varies quite a bit, and I agree with the gentleman and the lady that it varies a lot from country to country. From our experience, one, we don't think technology is a problem. The reality of technology, yesterday I bought something on eBay. I signed a digital contract. Shipping is organized, is going to come to my home, and I haven't even seen it except on the computer. So if I can do all of that with my money, I can definitely do a government transaction. So there isn't a real challenge with technology. So the question is, what do I do? How do I do it? Are we mature in terms of government transaction? It varies. Some countries have very little. Some have, you could fill an application, but then you still have to go physically and do the rest of it because you have to sign, you have to pay, you have to give attachments, you have to do a million things. So do we call this e-government? Early on, we were struggling, what does e-government really mean? So are we mature? I don't think we're mature. There is a lot to do. How do we engage the private sector? I mean, you're asking, where are the CIOs? They're waiting for the tenders, basically. When the tender comes out, we submit the tender. If we're the lowest bidder, we comply, we win. If we're not, we're out.
Is this the type of relation we're looking for in a more matured environment where really technology is being used, transformation is happening? Again, let's get back to the word transformation. That's our key word. Mr. Ali, where do you see in a matured environment that we all are opting to, how are we going to bring the public and private sector together in a good form of real partnership? Tell us more of this. Tell us what's happening in Saudi Arabia, for example.
You know, speaking of maturity, it has to face the same coin. Maturity of government and maturity of private sector. Sure. And they work together to deliver a mature, e-government product.
100%.
So government maturity is important, also private sector maturity. Let me speak about the private sector maturity. Today on the region, we are heavily dependent on Western and Asian companies. I don't have a single name of a regional company that can be called a mega or a giant company in the region, the same size of Huawei or LG or Samsung or computer, corporation in US or in India, Infosys or Tata or Wipro. And this is one of the indication of maturity of private sector. Most of the companies in the region, which are they are waiting for the bids to come out, they are small and mediums, and they never grow. They never make it to, and they never. I don't know what's the problem, but they never gain the trust of government project to be given a mega project. Always government in all the region, they want a leader company to be part of the deal. They want a consortium led by a mega company that lead to make sure that they will deliver. So it could be the problem is with governments, could be with private sector. We have to look to this and see why we don't have big enough companies that can cater for mega projects within government. We have companies in different industries we are proud of. They are serving the region and serving outside of the region. But why don't we have ICT companies in that size? And telecom, I think we are doing good. Telecom, we have excellent companies that they're serving nations, and now some of them is if we take STC, for example, in Saudi Arabia, now they are serving Saudi Arabia, and they are also going to other countries. Etisalat in UAE, they are also Zain here in Jordan and some other regions. They are serving now everywhere in the world. And they are reliable, and they are running a huge infrastructure. But in IT, to be honest with you, until now, the partnership is not mature. The IT industry is not mature. The problem could be from the government side, could be from private sector, but this is worth really studying and considering and finding out how do we increase the relationship and increase the trust and the partnership to have a mature, because e-government cannot be done by government. It has to be in a partnership with private sector. We know that. We will not be able to do it alone. We have to do it with private sector. They have the know-how, they are faster, they are reliable, but how do we really build that kind of relationship and trust? I'll leave it to the public audience to share with us their opinion.
So this is an open question for all.
Yeah.
Hassan, we've done some trials here in Jordan. I recall one initiative for one of the private companies, along with the government of Jordan, 2004, along with an international technology provider and a business consulting firm, one of the big four. They come in together and they did some kind of initiative. I think you've been there at that time. Can you please share that experience in a quick 2 minutes max, but please focus. Where is it now? Why didn't it work? That's one way where it's a good indicator of maturity. That's really true public-private partnership and utilization of the relations with the international firms, changing the region from just being a consumer to become part of the innovation of the solutions and the technology.
Over the past 10 years, we have been executing a large number of projects in the area of infrastructure, shared services, and e-services. Quite a large number of projects that have been accomplished in partnership with the private sector. But I have to say that the relationship in each and every case has been like pulling teeth. It has been very, very tough. We have been successful, but the success hasn't really been a sweet success. It has been a very tough journey all along. Now, as to why, the reason I honestly believe it is to do with maturity. I remember a friend of mine a number of years ago told me that in this part of the world, we lack the corporate culture. Companies are built upon individuals, and that poses a great risk, both for the company and for the clients of that company, because should the person change their mind or die or change the line of business, then everybody suffers, and that is a real problem. What Abu Saleh said is very true. You look around the region and you see local companies targeting very small to medium projects. But when it comes to very large-scale projects in infrastructure, in e-service development, in shared service development, we are not risk takers, and therefore we want it ready for us to come and do. And that really is a serious problem. With regards to the project that you talked about, which is in the heart of technology, I presume, I think that project was, at the time in 2005, was a very strategic project for e-government. It was the enterprise architecture for e-government. We did the blueprints and we did an incredible amount of work, but then to some extent the project has been dormant ever since. And that really is the company is not the reason, it's us, it's the government. The reason is the government. Now we are, if you like, reinvigorating the project from
It's good, at
from the
least,
start.
it's good to know where somebody saying it was our mistake. Sharon, how did it work in the U.S.? Why people are, yes, we can't get to 100% satisfaction for government services. Always people are asking for more value for the taxes they pay for etc. But it's definitely more mature, better than how it's served in this part of the world. How did it work?
Well, I think we've been doing it longer, and so in some respects it's just a matter of experience and experimentation. And I think also we try a lot of things, and not everything works, but we are willing to try something. If it works, good. If it doesn't work, try something else. And that's a matter of American culture, both in business and to a lesser extent, but still exists in government. I wanted to give an example of one successful partnership that demonstrates this level of maturity. And unfortunately, it's about paying your taxes, which is a function of government that no one really likes very much. But it's called the Free File Alliance. And it was a partnership between the Internal Revenue Service, the tax collection agency of the United States government, and a series of private sector companies, both IT companies and companies who do accounting, to create online services so that Americans could pay their taxes in a simple online way. And it works very, very well because they pay incredible attention to the tax code, to the processes by which taxes are collected, to the work that individuals have to do in order to pay their taxes. It allows for people with higher incomes who file rather complicated returns to use software that already has all the rules built in, so we don't have to figure out every year what has Congress done this year to make our taxes more complicated. And the companies who offer those services can charge taxpayers a fee, but it's very low for doing that. And in exchange, they also agree that for the vast majority of taxpayers who have lower incomes and file simple returns, that those returns can be filed for free. And so lower income people get the benefit of free filing. All taxpayers get the benefit of a simplified system that actually calculates the accurate amount of tax. Businesses make a profit, and the government gets the taxes that it is owed. So to me, a really excellent example. We don't have a lot of examples like that, unfortunately, but it does pay attention to that policy, the data, the way organizations work, to the stakeholders, and there was a win in that alliance for everyone.
Great. But private sector are more aware of late trends and technologies. So many things are happening now that would ease access, connectivity. Mr. Al-Samad just mentioned population in Saudi Arabia, 60% less than 25 years old. Mobile penetration. Now statistics says that most of internet penetration is happening through mobiles. Again, convenience, easy to use. And then we don't need to wait for that huge infrastructure that probably was pulling us back. How are we doing as private sector, getting those new trends, building on them, capitalizing on them, and probably offer them to the government for a good form of partnership? What are we doing in that area?
Well, first, let me just comment on, can we create large private organizations in the Arab world?
Do we need
Yes.
to?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can. So why aren't we? We are doing it in the telecom, we're doing it in the construction, we're doing it in airlines. You know, Emirates Airlines today is the biggest carrier. We are doing it in many areas. Why not in our field? I think personally, there's many, okay, probably several that don't have the proper know-how or maybe unprofessional, doesn't matter, but there is a lot that are willing, that have the desire, that would like to build these large organizations that serve the needs of the Arab world. However, there is no real wheel in motion that says, look, if you do this, you're going to happen, you're going to grow, things are going to happen. And it is a partnership between the private sector and the public sector. And we've seen this in the US with the Industrial Revolution. We've seen it even recently with the recessions in the US, where the US government jumped in and bailed out many organizations because the private sector is extremely important to be there. So my opinion, yes, we can create large organizations if we can create the proper incubation environment, and we try, we fail, we learn, we try again, and then we build them. But it will take a lot of programs. LG is an example of that. Now, in terms of how do I deliver the end services to the customer?
How are we utilizing the new trends?
The new trends.
It's about, really, things are changing. Probably, yes, we still need those large technology creators for some kind of services, but a lot more around that. That's a huge potential, that's a huge opportunity, and solves many challenges. We need to talk about challenges that's facing the government in a while, but really, this could be a way around. Are we doing anything to bring that technology and add to that technology, localize, really transform technology?
Since the morning, I've been hearing 100%, 150, 120, 190%, gigabytes, zettabytes, etc. But in terms of applications for people to do, as far as the government is involved on the mobile phone, we have very little in the region. It probably varies from one area to another. Can we launch these applications? Of course. Can we use them? Of course we can. But when we look at the reality, we have an experience in one of the countries in the Gulf. For example, doing governmental transactions for businesses. In this particular country, there are 300,000 companies registered. About less than 1,000 of them had more than 1,000 employees. About 76% had 2 employees or less, Papa and Mama company. And the story goes on. So these guys, if they want to use the internet, if they want to use a smartphone, they don't know how, okay? Or they know very little on how to use an application. They go to service centers. So in my opinion, yes, we can launch a lot of applications on mobile phone today using the GSM, using all the fancy networks we have, but we still have to cater for the mass majority of our end user. How are they going to use this application? Are they going to use it on the internet? How are we going to deliver this particular service to them? How are they doing it now? This is a long topic of discussion, but yes, we can. It's not that difficult, but will it serve the purpose? This is the question.
Allow me to go a bit controversial with your point, and actually take the ball to the government officials who are with us. This change and what we've seen in the past 2 years, probably is definitely you are taking that into consideration when you are thinking of modifying your strategies, probably putting how things should go forward. What we thought, as at some point I used to be part of the e-government team, we were thinking in a way, assuming that this will be of what the end customer wants. That's the citizen or the business. But eventually, those past 2 years showed us that they have different kind of needs, and they are using technology in a way different than what we probably assumed. Is that anything that we are taking into consideration, and how are we taking it into consideration? We were supposed to have Mr. Patrick Atalla. Unfortunately, he could not make it. He's a social media expert, and actually, I wanted him at that point to shed some light. Where does social media come, moving from really social to become a tool for government use and people-government relationship?
Okay, this is a very important aspect that government in designing their services and application and products, they have to pay attention to the pattern and the behaviors of citizens. Today, as we said, in Arab wars, a very young population, and most of those youngs are there online, social media, or using mobile smart devices. So we have to cater for that and make sure that we design the service in a way where it will be more convenient for them. So we try in Saudi Arabia, we try to do that. We try to engage them and take their feedback and opinion about e-services. And so whenever we put in a strategy together, we try to put it in public consultation, try to seek opinion and advice from citizens, what they think of what when we prioritize the services that we have to start give them more priority and put them online first. We try to take the customer views. We do a customer satisfaction survey every year. We ask them question about what services matter really for them, what service they would like to see online, and what channels they prefer to use to reach government users. We did not do this when we started back in 7 years ago, but now our program and our way of doing things become more mature, and we really try to consider that and try to not to be driven by the technology and the trends, but by the need of people and by the expectation of the customer. And we think in Saudi Arabia that the uptake of most of the service there is very high, considering with other countries in the region. Maybe because of that kind of exercise, and maybe because of the demand side from the citizen is a little bit higher. Things are not 100% perfect, but we are trying and we are learning every day. The maturity is increasing from one project to the other.
Hassan, where are we heading? Do you see any opportunities for the people who were here in the morning talking about entrepreneurship, investment, new ideas, innovation? Do they have a chance with the e-government? Can you tell us your plans?
I think time will have to tell.
But
I think, as the old saying goes, customer is king. It cannot be more true today than ever. I think today the recipient, the service recipient, dictates the deal. Ministers and civil servants can no longer hide behind doors because Facebook doesn't know doors or walls. It gets to you wherever you are. Today, the e-government of Jordan has a page on Facebook, and we have a lot of interaction through that page with citizens. I really didn't mean to be critical when I said where are the CIOs, but I really want to have this healthy relationship of interaction. And today, the e-government of Jordan is heading towards mobile government, e-participation, open data. All these buzzwords of e-transformation are a reality. Today, we are working on an elaborate plan, not only for the program within the Ministry of ICT, but nationwide. We need to guide government agencies to e-transform because we don't have a choice, because the client needs this. So if we do not build this healthy relationship between the public sector and private sector, we will be walking in the same place. We will not reach the goals.
So there are lots of opportunities in the program. Though people may be thinking we are lack in cash these days as a government, but yet you said there's a room for real partnership in place.
We have, to be very honest with you, probably except for this year or last year, we have never had any financial issues.
I mean at this at
Yes.
this part.
And I mean, everybody's going through difficult times, but I think this will pass. This too will pass, as they
I'm trying
as they
to
all
see
say,
this challenge actually as an opportunity for investment, because this is the time where, allow me to say this, private sector could actually exercise more pressure on government to allow for smoother type of terms for this partnership. And this is a good chance for the investors to make their returns in a good mode, but at the same time provide a convenient service on behalf of the government. So outsourcing and partnership, it could be, is it something that you see as a solution for our situation at this point of time?
Definitely, definitely. And Intaj, as the organizers of this event, have been very active with us in trying to figure out certain ways of doing business apart from the traditional procurement. And the government today is open for any ideas for public-private partnership in whatever flavor. We are open for ideas, but people have to understand that there is risk in this relationship and have to take part of that risk.
I'm sorry, we need to start getting some questions from our audience, but let me check the logistics first that they have a mic.
Or a strong voice.
Actually, we need a couple.
Hello, how are you doing? So I have a question for you about e-government. We know that in a country like Jordan, there's a big majority of the population that work in government. If we had a full-fledged e-government program, this means that we have to give up a lot of the human capital that works at government. How does that work?
Let me have a stab at this. I believe with innovation and e-transformation comes opportunity. Yes, government is probably the largest employer in the land. However, government carries a lot of baggage, not only in ICT, but also in other areas. But I do believe that if we transform, then we create different kinds of opportunity. And we need people to do the work still. So I do not believe that e-transformation necessarily results in mass unemployment in the public sector.
That's just a small follow-up. I do agree on what you're saying, but of course, during the phase or the phases crossing the bridge to have a full-fledged e-government, you're going to have more employment. That's for sure. But once you have a full-fledged e-government and that work required and the employment required to get to that stage is not required anymore, I mean, my question is from an economic point of view, how do you create opportunities for all these people who create the majority of the employed people? Not only Jordan, I mean, I'm talking about each and every country that has the same model of employment, private sector versus public. Thanks.
Okay. Allow me to help on that. The point is, if we look at e-government as a tool for, again, socioeconomic development, then yes, people may be moving around from being government employees, but then there will be more chances on on the other sides where on the BPOs, on the ICT implementation companies, bringing ICT into the game actually created thousands of jobs, for example, in Jordan. It did not result of laying people off going home. Indirect employment, I think if there's anybody from the ministry can help me in the statistics, along with direct, it's created around 100,000 jobs in Jordan alone. So probably that's what could be how, yes, less people in the government, but more employment opportunities as a whole, as an economy. Can we take another question? Is there?
Marhaba. I would like to ask about
The microphone.
أقرب أكثر. I would like to ask about what is being considered towards hearing what citizens want to say to government officials. I mean, let me say as a loyal citizen, I always have comments to deliver to certain officials if I see something wrong somewhere. And I go to their webpage and I lack the opportunity to post some sort of a news or some sort of information. Let's say, for example, Ministry of Health, I see a violation in one of the restaurants, I want to report it. How do I go on about reporting that? I mean, one of the main things that I lack in seeing an e-government initiatives in the Arab region is hearing us out, hearing the citizen out. And is there a platform? I know each one of those agencies can answer, we have a Facebook page, we have a blah, blah, blah. I mean, I think there should be some sort of a centralized platform that is monitored and audited and controlled.
Thank you. I'll actually,
it can always be anonymous as well.
this morning, I think Mr. Ray, he used to do some work for Obama campaign and for the White House. He brought this up and he said we have a mechanism. If we have around 100,000 tweets about something, we respond as a White House. So that's kind of the audited framework. Anyway.
Allow me to take this. To be honest with you, from my opinion, the issue is not the channels or the technology. The issue is the culture. Is the government mentality, the government, you know, they have this culture of seeking opinion and they are open for, you know, feedback. I think it's a culture has to be established within. Then the technology will be the enabler and will be the facilitator for that. In Saudi Arabia, for the last few years, there is a culture of something called public consultation. Most of the ministries, it started, by the way, in the ICT regulator, the Communication Information Technology Commission. They started this practice back in 5 years. Every single regulation or strategy they develop, before they approve, they put it completely on the newspaper. They pay for that money. Half page in the newspaper saying, public, we have this piece of regulation or strategy, we'll seek your opinion. Academic people, interested company, this is a legislation piece or a strategy piece that will touch in your life, so please give us your feedback. And they open their channels, fax, walk-in, email, mail, whatever, to give them feedback on the relegation. Lawyer people, they comment. Academic people, they comment. So I remember the Minister of ICT, he was saying in a conference like this, we've got ideas worth money. We pay consulting firms to do that for us. We get them for free from citizens, for interested people. That practice become a culture. Today, the Stock Market Authority, they do the same thing. Ministry of Commerce, they do the same thing. Minister of Labor, he opened a website called MENA. MENA, yani together we decide. Any decision, before he sign any decision, he will put on that website the whole qarar decision completely as is, open for public comment and give us why this qarar is not working or why this qarar will have a disadvantage. And he will wait for 2 weeks or a certain time. If he sees something that's worth really considering and changing his decision, he would change. If not, so it's become a culture. All the now, it is starting for, there are some ministry who are not listening. I'm not saying everybody. So it is a culture. If it started and become everywhere, then it will be the default for. So I think it has to be adopted as a practice and a culture before it went to a fancy technology that people give feedback and nobody taking any action.
Thank you.
If I may add just
Please,
a couple of
Charles.
things here. Traditionally in Jordan, we have this culture of ask, is'al. Whenever you want to transact with government and you don't know what the process is, you ask, اسأل. يقول لك اسأل شوفير التاكسي ولا اسأل تبع الاستدعاءات ولا اسأل. We capitalized on that actually when we were developing the portal a number of years ago, 2006 or 2007. And we created a link on the portal that says ask or is'al. And we have institutionalized that where you log in your complaint or your question or whatever it is as a citizen, and it is channeled to the right agency with a time limit. And if no response within that time limit occurs, then there is an automatic escalation until the issue is resolved. That is available, it has been available for a number of years now on the e-government portal, yes.
Is it used? People are using it,
Yes,
or they are not aware?
extensively, yes.
So
Yes.
if we can share probably later on some of the statistics of
We can
the-
even share some of the questions, very interesting
Actually-
questions.
Okay. Because probably sometimes, and we've seen this in many places, people are not aware of what the government is doing. They've invested a lot in lots of solutions, but simply people are not aware of it, either for they're not using the right channels to reach to them, or it's a lack, again, of the trust and transparency. I can take one more last question if there's any. Okay. Sorry. Please go ahead.
Good evening. I'd like to ask, we are the private sector. We are always ready to invest. And the solid private sectors, they have the money, they have the power, and they want to invest. My question is the government are ready for that right now, not 10 years ago? Maybe it was a new experience for the government. But right now, is the government ready to have such a huge investment in the e-government, as an example, in terms of changing rules or regulations? Thank you.
Are we ready to take any changes?
As I said earlier, for the government of Jordan, yes, absolutely, we are ready. We are ready to enter into a partnership, a win-win situation, not a win-lose situation. That is the prerequisite. People have to come in with the understanding that the investment could be a long-term investment with the associated risks. And today, the government is ready to partner with the private sector to do business.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's actually a very good ending question for us, because a matured sector would have a clear, transparent method for dialogue, for informative and comprehensive, constructive dialogue between all stakeholders, whether private or public. Clear partnership then can be a very good indicator of a matured e-government and a successful e-government program. That's one side of it. Having a convenient service delivery mechanism and convenient services delivered to citizens, increasing, you've mentioned you do customer satisfaction reports. That's definitely a very good indicator for how matured is a program. Now, information sharing and building on data, taking that into the decisions and the strategies of the other sectors, how to develop the whole economy, how to develop the social aspect of nations. That's another important area that you took off, Sharon. Samir, private sector, we got some good hits today. So, but I believe the private sector, as you said, we are willing, we are ready. We need more
We have a backup.
transparent. We need to get into this together. Thank you very much, my distinguished guests. Thank you very much, my remarkable audience. And, I really hope everybody get a fruitful 2 days, or actually remaining day tomorrow. Welcome you again in Jordan, and thanks a lot.
Thank you.